Internet friends, my name is Catherine and I'm the human behind Creation Escucher, and today we are having a little fun experiment just to compare superwash fiber versus non-superwash fiber. So we're going to be using 100% superfine superwash merino top and 100% untreated merino in this experiment, and we're going to be using leftover dye stock from previous I'm pretty sure it was Color Wheel Mondays, so that way we can combine the fun experiment with a leave no dye behind, so this is pretty fun. So let's get into this. Hello friends, so today we're doing another leave no dye behind. So hello friends, we're doing another leave no dye behind. So in this one we're going to use Swish, which is an unspun roving from Knitpicks, and it is 100% fine superwash merino wool. So technically it is machine washable, but we're going to be doing an experiment and comparing it with this 100% untreated merino wool. So this is the same fiber. One is non-superwash and one is superwash. So we're going to see the difference that it makes when we are dyeing the roving in this case. So we are going to have one pan with this and one pan with that, and we're going to dye it the exact same way. So we are going to try to do a rainbow with my leftover dyes from I think it's from my Color Wheel Monday series. So we have 1% stock solution, but we don't have quite we don't have that much. Anyways, so what we're going to do is that we're going to be topping it off. So I think with the quantity of dye stock we have, it would be a 0.5% stock solution that we would end up with. So we're going to be topping it off up to the 200 milliliter, and then we're going to be doing our rainbows in the pan. So I'm just going to add some water in here. 200 ml. Okay. Making mess as usual. And 200. Perfect. Okay. So let's see each other in the pan in a minute. And the reason I'm going to do rainbow, not only because of the colors we have, but it's because it's going to be easy to compare the results. So we're going to be adding our citric acid. Oh, sorry. Oh, I've breathed that. Okay, so the rule of thumb when it comes to citric acid, it's 1 tablespoon per pound, so 454 grams. And in each of those, we have 100 gram of fiber, so 1 teaspoon should be plenty enough. Okay, and we've just added 9 cups of tap water in each of the pans, and we're going to have this one as the non-superwash one. So what I like to do is I like to dye my fiber directly in the pan that I'm using to soak it. Takes less space, but you can always put them in a bucket, let it soak, and use clean water and all of that. Because sometimes what happens when you're dyeing fibers that soaked directly in your in the pan you're working with, there will be like the little oils and all of that that will be in the water, so it's just going to take a little longer to wash off any excess dyes after. So it's just a little more work towards the end. So but it's up to you. You do with the space you have at home and everything. So we're going to let it soak, and we're going to come back when we have more That's going to be a better angle. Yes, so I'm going to let it soak, and we're going to come back when it has soaked enough that we can start working with it. Okay, so what we're going to start with is going to be purple. So I'm going to split my 200 milliliter in half. So I'm going to pour 100 milliliter in here. So that way we start working. I want to be it as equal as possible. I'm going to turn on the heat right now, actually, sorry. So it can slowly warm up. Okay, so I want to try to have as equal as possible both fibers, so we can have a good comparison of what happens with untreated merino versus superwash merino for the fiber. So this is why we are trying to split everything up. And I'm trying to get some of the dye underneath, because if we don't, we're going to end up with white patches, because it's already striking because we have the citric acid in it. So if I don't take care of trying to add the dye to the underneath, it's just not going to work properly. And I feel that the way those two fibers are, because this one is more dense than the superwash one, I feel that we're going to have a little bit more work to do to get it underneath, but the strike, it will be slower with the untreated one, so we never know. So this is why we are experimenting. Now we're going to be adding the blue, and you can see that the color is different also, but it's the same color from the same thing, so that's interesting. We should see. Now we're going to add my blue. I'm just spiriting it. Okay. And I do want the colors to join a little bit, so this is what I'm going to do here. Trying to move it underneath as well and have it okay. Let's do the untreated one. And I try to have an even pour when it comes to this technique of dye, because it is easy to over pour, sort of, and you would obtain very different results. At least it's the same like fiber in the pot, so it's not too bad. Okay, and I'm trying to not move it too much, just so we don't felt it by accident. This one I don't really care because I know it's not gonna felt, but just want to make sure that I avoid this situation. Oh, I think that's orange. I don't want orange, I want red. That looks orange. It is. Oh, do I not have? You know what? That's okay. That's okay. I will grab my yellow. And if it's more orange, that's okay. Okay, yellow. Here we go. So you can already see the color mixing and creating this beautiful like green up to a lime to up to our yellow. which I love. Okay. Is it actually on? Yes. Okay. Perfect. Now we're going to be adding the. It looks red. It must be red. I probably just saw stuff. Okay. So we'll have a nice rainbow over here. And voilà. Okay. I'm just going to do this, and now we're going to be adding the rest of the red in this one. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so there we go. We're going to make this. We're going to bake it for like half an hour now because I can already see that the water. I'm just going to lower it a little bit. So we're going to let it cook for half an hour now. Ah, I dropped my thing. Okay, so half an hour. So for observation wise, you can already see that this pan, which is the superwash one, is brighter than this one. And we know that non-superwash versus superwash will have color variation from time to time. Um, so it's technically the same stock solution in both. It's just that this one is slightly more muted and this one is shinier. So we'll be able to compare once it has cooked and everything if the color change, the color difference is that different when it comes to like the final product and everything. So we'll see. And we'll also see because I'm with the experience I have with dyeing non-superwash versus superwash. Sorry. There's usually a difference also with the negative spaces left after dyeing. So I'm expecting that the superwash will have more white spaces, which is my negative space, when we're done dyeing it. So we'll see in a half an hour what it looks like. So see you. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes, and okay, so you can see that the red has not fully struck. Not really surprised. Same thing with the green because the Caribbean blue has a tendency to take longer to strike, and this is also non-superwash, so it's a little slower for it to completely strike the yarn. Okay. Okay, so same here. You can see that our green, because of the Caribbean blue, has not fully struck, but the red is all good. So I'm going to turn off I'm going to turn it off, both of them. So we are going to let the residual heat, ouch, um, finish its work. And we're going to let it cool completely off on the stove so that way there's still some heat that will help the greens and the red in this situation to complete the vat of it. And after that, we're going to be washing the excess dye off. I'm expecting this one to have a little bit more excess dye to be exhausted, like to be. No, don't do that. To get removed from it simply because I didn't pre-soak it in a separate thing. So we're going to have some of the oils removing some of the dye as well. So I will see you when I wash those. And you can really see the difference. Like this is very much more muted, and this one is more like almost silky looking when I look at the picture on the camera. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so we're going to be starting by washing the superwash fiber. So for this one, we didn't have any color left in the dye pan, which is always great. It's always what we want. However, what I noticed is that I had to work a little bit harder, and I was a little surprised that the green, not that I'm surprised that the green was bleeding a little bit. What I was surprised is that for the superwash, I had to work a little bit harder compared to the non-superwash. Here you can see that there's like a tint of the green in the bath, which I hate, but at least with the superwash, I'm not worried to be felting the fiber at all, which is always a concern when it comes to fibers. But here we just have to work a little bit harder. It happens. So this is what I was a little surprised, because it feels that I should have been working harder with the non-superwash. And here with the non-superwash, I had colors left in the dye pan, but I didn't have to work as hard to wash the excess dye. So there's that. And now I'm going to be washing the non-superwash. And so yes, I had color. I didn't have any color in the dye bath. No, that's not true. I had color in the dye bath, so I was expecting to be working a little bit harder on the fiber in the wash bath. That's what I'm trying to say. But I didn't have to wash. And here, like, I honestly, I've cut a whole lot of the video, but I did let it soak for at least half an hour for both of the colors. So it's just that I cut it the video to not make it too boring for you guys. So we'll watch the result in a second now. And here's the result for comparing the untreated merino versus the superwash merino. So as I was expecting, the superwash merino has a lot of the negative space that I was talking about, which is not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to spinning fibers, because you can create fractals and you can create so many different colors, and a little pop of white can also add a softness to the spinning fiber you're going for. You can create pastels like that as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Where with the untreated one, the colors are slightly more muted, especially when you compare the purple side of it, but it's still very pretty. We have a little bit less of those negative space with the white patches. So it really depends. Like, I'm loving more and more dyeing the untreated ones, because I like how diffused the color looks, and it is still extremely soft. Of course, the superwash one is slightly softer than the untreated one. However, it's still merino, so it's still in the 20 microns level, so it's still quite soft. And it takes a little longer for the dyes to strike the fiber when it's untreated versus the superwash one, but it's not too bad. It's just an adaptation and learning how to work with your untreated versus your superwash fiber. So it really depends on what you're going for. And oh, of course, hello, Miss Zoe. We are lucky because merino is not her favorite fiber. Her favorite fiber is BFL. She goes crazy for blue face Leicester. So I'm just happy I was able to give a little bit of a conclusion before she showed up. So yeah, it's still extremely pretty. It's just two different style, and it depends on like your budget and also what you personally prefer next to the skin and stuff like that. So hope you liked the video. If you did, please consider sharing, liking, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one very soon. Bye.